Hello everyone, I'm Jerome Mirano from BPE31 and I will discussing about the justice and fairness ethics. But before we proceed to the discussion, I would like to tell you the guidelines on my presentation. 1. I will be talking about the person behind this work. Second, its definition. Third, example principles of the guiding topics. Fourth, the criticism, and lastly, the summary of this work. So let's start. John Rawls is the 20th century philosopher. Born and raised in Baltimore in 1921, his father was a prominent lawyer while his mother is the chapter president of the League Women Voters. Rawls studied at Princeton University and then proceeded to teach in Oxford, Harvard, and MIT. In 1971, he published a book about theory of justice in which he attempted to provide a moral theory alternative to utilitarianism and address the problem of distributive justice. So, the theory uses update from Kantian philosophy and a variant from a conventional contract theory. So, this complex work attempts to develop standards of principles social justice that could apply to real societies. So, when we say justice, means giving each person what he or she deserves, or in more traditional terms, giving each person he or her due. When something is just, it is by definition fair, focused mostly on the standard and rules of law in our current justice system. So, and when we say fairness, it is the freedom from prejudice and quality of treating people equality. It is usually dictated by our moral system. For example, Robin steals money from rich to give to the poor. Think about it. Is it just or is it fair? Well, it's acceptable based on the POV of the poor but unjust for the rich. According to John Rawls, Ideally, a just society must offer the same opportunities to everyone. However, because of our imperfection justice system, justice then becomes fair for the poor and favorable for the rich. So, the term justice and fairness are closely related terms and they're even used interchangeable. But to what extent is justice considered as fair? When we talk about rape cases, we always wanted to have the rapist detained right away because it's how we proceed as something right and just. But because of every citizen right to hire a lawyer, including rapists, something might turn out entirely different as to what we initially expected. So, now let's talk about the different type of justice. First is the distributive justice. It refers to a fair distribution of goods in society. Second is the corrective justice. It is for punishment of criminal case. And lastly, the compensation justice. It refers to when people are properly compensated for the injuries. Next, the two principles of justice. First principle is the liberty principle, and the second principle of social justice is equality principle. When we say liberty principle, it is sincere with the people institution. This principle means that everyone has same basic liberties when can ever be taken away. So this principle means that everyone has same basic liberties. Role included most of the liberties in the U.S. Bill of Rights, such as freedom of speech and due process of law. He added some liberties from the border area of human rights, like freedom of travel. So the second principle is focuses on the equality. 1. Fair equality of opportunity, which the principle maintains that offices and positions should be open to any individual regardless of his or her social background, ethnicity, or sex. Difference principle, which states that any equal distribution of social or economic good is permissible only such that the less advantaged member of society would be better off under the distribution. So let's proceed to the criticism of Rawls. The most controversial part of Rawls' theory of justice centered on his different principles. For example, some people deserve a higher level of material goods because of their hard work or contribution to society. Now, the summary or conclusion on this moral concept, even though John Rawls' principles were highly idealized, he still managed to point out the inequality present in our society so we can work towards the betterment of the members of our community. However, he proposed ideas have several loopholes. It would be better to apply the principles of equality than the equality in the real world. So, equity is providing various level of support and assistance depending on specific needs and abilities. And for equity, it is adaptable, individual focused, and fair. Now, that's all for justice and fairness. I hope you learned something valuable on this topic. Thank you.